In the mountains upstream, there are places people stop naming. They may appear on old maps as roads, channels, work sites, or forgotten shrines, but the people who live nearby simply look away from them. I did not know that when we went camping there. I only knew the river looked clean, the forest looked deep, and the place felt far enough from the city to let us breathe. If you find a little wooden shrine sealed with paper, leave it alone, because from that night onward, footsteps that are not yours may begin to follow close beside you. It happened when I was in my second year at university. Shin, Kosuke, and I had been planning a short camping trip after exams. 2 transfer students in our university seminar heard us talking about it and asked if they could come. They were friendly enough, but I did not know them well. One of them was loud, always laughing at things before anyone else did. The other was quieter, but he had a way of smiling with only his mouth. We decided on a mountain area several hours away by train and bus, somewhere above a small town known for its river and old stone paths. We arrived in the late afternoon, when the town was already sinking into a gray kind of silence. Near the station, there were inns, souvenir shops, and signs pointing toward walking trails, but the season was wrong, and most places were closed. The 2 transfer students said a more lively place would be boring anyway. They wanted somewhere no one else would be. Shin looked at me and shrugged. Lively sounds harmless, I suppose. So we kept walking past the last row of shops. It felt more like the edge of a tourist area than the wilderness, but beyond the road the trees pressed close together. Without thinking much of it, we headed that way. The path followed an old concrete water channel. It must have been built long ago to carry water down from the upper stream, but now it was cracked, half buried under moss and filled with dead leaves. After about 40 minutes, the path opened into a flat clearing. It was a place where a small river curved around a bend. On one side there was a slope of cedars, and on the other, the broken water channel disappeared into weeds. The ground was strangely even. It was clearly man-made. Maybe workers had used it once. Maybe people had gathered there for something. None of us said that out loud. We put up 2 tents before the light faded. Shin, Kosuke, and I used one. The 2 transfer students took the other. At first, everything felt normal. We made instant noodles, opened cans, and laughed about small things from school. Then the 2 of them said they were going to collect more firewood. They came back with firewood a few times, but they never stayed long. Each time they returned, the air around them seemed drawn tight. Their joking became forced. Their eyes kept moving toward the slope behind the clearing. When Kosuke asked if something was there, the louder one waved him off and said they had just found something weird. Later, when the fire had burned low, they finally told us. Up the slope, hidden between the cedars, there was a little wooden shrine. Not a large shrine with a gate or steps, just a small wayside shrine, no higher than a person's knee. A paper talisman had been pasted across its doors, or something meant to seal it shut. Shin immediately told them not to touch it. I said the same thing, but the louder one laughed. They said that if it was sitting this deep in the mountains, it could not mean anything. It was as good as abandoned. Then they told us they had already torn through the paper and looked inside. From the back of the shrine, they had taken an amber-brown, translucent lump, smooth and cold, like resin that had hardened around something. Kosuke went quiet. Before he could explain why, his body already knew. They had wrapped the thing in a towel and put it in one of their backpacks. I asked them to take it back right away. Shin was angry now, but he was trying to keep his voice down. The two transfer students acted as if we were overreacting. As the drinking went on, they kept teasing us for being cowards. They said mountain people left junk everywhere. They said paper seals were just old habits. The campfire burned low. The river kept moving behind us, but the sound of it seemed thinner than before. The forest around the clearing had become too still. It did not feel as though something was hiding there. It felt as though something had noticed us. I do not know what time it was when the footsteps began. I was lying in the tent, half awake, listening to Shin breathing beside me. At first, I thought one of the others had gone outside. There was a soft step near the fire pit, then another near the river, then another behind our tent. The rhythm was wrong. It was not one person walking. It was more like several people moving separately around the clearing. There seemed to be more of them with every passing moment. But the worst part was what we could not hear. If someone had been walking, we should have heard grass being crushed underfoot. We should have heard someone stepping down toward the water or kicking stones. There was none of that, only footsteps placed neatly in the dark. Shin opened his eyes. Kosuke was already awake. None of us spoke. The footsteps passed beside our tent, stopped, then moved away. After a while, they stopped all at once. Then a voice, crying and apologizing, came from outside. It was one of the transfer students. He kept saying he was sorry. He kept saying he would put it back. But his voice was not moving. It stayed in exactly the same place, a little way beyond the fire. What scared me most was not what might be out there. It was the fact that the other transfer student did not answer him, not once. Then the crying voice changed. It became flatter, as if someone had placed words into his mouth. He said, "Please, do not look." Of course, we looked. Shin unzipped the tent only a few centimeters. At the edge of our flashlight beams, I saw shapes standing near the other tent. I cannot say how many there were. The fog and the trees kept breaking them apart. Their faces, when the light touched them, were bluish white, like skin seen under deep water. The two transfer students were kneeling in front of them. Neither of them was resisting. One was crying without sound. The other stared straight ahead. The figures held a black, murkish substance in their hands. Slowly, carefully, they pressed it onto the students' palms, their faces, their throats. It did not look like anger. It looked like a set procedure, something done the same way every time. The amber lump was still wrapped in the towel beside the backpack. They had not come to take it. After that, my memory breaks apart. I remember Kosuke's hand clamped over my mouth. I remember Shin pulling the zipper closed so slowly that it made almost no sound. I remember the footsteps beginning again, moving around us in circles. Then morning. We were lying beside our tent on wet grass, all three of us, as if we had crawled out in our sleep. The fire was ash. The other tent was open. The two transfer students were inside, shivering, their faces gray and empty. Neither of them remembered standing outside. Neither of them remembered crying. The towel was still in the backpack. The amber-brown lump was still there. Shin looked at it for a long time. Then he said only this: we had to go back and return the thing they had taken. The two transfer students refused at first. They said it was our fault for choosing a place like that. They said we should just leave the mountain, throw the thing into the river, and never speak of it again. Kosuke shook his head so hard I thought he might be sick. Shin said that if what had happened last night had not been a dream, then it was not over yet. I wanted to go down the mountain. I wanted to reach the road, the town, the station, anywhere with walls and people and ordinary sounds. But every time I imagined walking away, I heard those footsteps again, not chasing, not hurrying, just keeping pace beside us. In the end, we decided to return it. Not because we were brave, not because we understood what it was. We went because none of us believed we had really escaped. As we climbed the slope, the backpack seemed heavier with every step. The paper seal had been torn. The little wooden shrine had been opened. Something that was supposed to remain untouched had been carried down to our fire. And the thought that would not leave me was this: what if whatever came last night had not come to take the object back? What if it had come to remember the faces of everyone who had touched it? Then even if we made it down the mountain, maybe it was already too late. Next time, I will tell you what happened when we tried to return it.